Trust knows no limits. Trusting is an eternal transcendence.
When trust is high, people and people's systems function well. People act in more direct and effective ways.
Trust is often instinctive, strategized. It is a reliance upon something, situation, people, events.
Presence or absence can make powerful differences in our lives.
No energy. No trust,
no
leadership.
No team.
No trust, no sales.
No respect.
No trust, no motivation. No trust,
no communication.
No
trust, no transparency. No trust, no confidence.
No trust, no change.
Change. The fundamental nature of change is a movement out of a current state through a transition state and to a future state of how things will be done. It happens all around us, at home, in our community, and at work. Change can be internally or externally motivated. Change can be a dramatic departure from what we know, or it can be minor. Changes can be anticipated or unexpected. There is a direct relationship between the level of trust and its impact of change, which means any increments achieved in trust will catalyze the change process, and vice versa. When trust is diminished, it will be an obstacle for a positive change process. That is why the relationship is illustrated with a 60-degree angle and not a traditional perpendicular coordinate system.
Let's begin with the change system. Static changes are oscillating, back and forth movements, but always within the same range. When the trust level is low, little changes can be made, and even when it is implemented, it is easy to fall back to the previous state. For example, when people move from one office to another, change happens, but people will return to their office routine. Dynamic changes are wide, but still can be measurable and predictable. This comes from situations that have a big impact in an organization and require more trust to react and change, but still are manageable within the company's scope. Let's imagine the company must shift into a new sales segment. It is an unknown market, but the company will rely on their known skills and trust their most competent employees to accommodate and eventually adapt to the new change. Dynamical changes will be strong and drastic, mostly unpredictable, requires high trust to react to big changes, most of which surface in unknown markets for the organization. A change in government laws may throw the company into drastically changing their mission, values, or structure into those that are not known. It might even make them change their sell product or take them out of the market. A company must have a high understanding of its skills, and its members must rely heavily on the company's decisions to survive in such unacclimated situations.
Let's view the following aspects of our study based on the different structures. A person or organization may move through the different zones depending on the particular situation that is being faced. Imagine we are talking about a well-established brand company which follows its daily production routine. The organized zone has a stable, predictable, and controlled environment. It requires a strong structure. We can view our company focusing on everyday procedures. Changes are few, and its organizational structure is strong to avoid uncertainty and foster a sense of stability among its people. The self-organized zone is characterized by adaptability, which gives way to constant changes that lead to learning. Using the previous case, the level of trust must increase for routinary processes, so a major flexibility can be gained to attend development change. The random zone has an unpredictable and unstable environment. According to the TC Delta model, a company which moves to an experimental area has to reach the highest levels of trust in all its organizational elements to achieve a new change. Here, the company's structure is put to the test, because if it is weak or non-existent, it will crumble.
Next, we will view patterns in the TC model. Patterns are logical sequences which reflect connections with meaning within an organization's structure, and thus critical to identify them. This can be done by looking for similarities, differences, and connections that have a significance in time and space. Point attractor patterns represent the movement towards common interests or behaviors shared in space, time, or value. They can be viewed in the model as the lines and shapes heading to the point attractor. These lines and shapes symbolize the interconnections of goals, rules, norms, and values in cultural characteristics of different units of the organization. If trust exists, people will be drawn to react positively to point attractors and allow for change to happen. Just like when a new boss arrives to lead a new department, its members will mimic his actions in order to gain his trust. In order to understand periodic attractors, it is convenient to think about cycles, hence a 360-degree path geometrically speaking, which refers to concluding processes that at the end meet in their initial point. Movements can be done towards both axes and return to its starting point, proving that change can be catalyzed or have a slowdown. However, concluding the cycle, the already passed perimeter encloses, forming the triangle area as a defined element of the system. Let's talk about projects focusing on the people's behavior during the different stages of a project's life cycle. Projects can be divided in 3 stages if we analyze how it is impacted by trust. The ADD stage for analysis, design, and development starts with a lot of uncertainty, but this is where trust is constantly increasing. Working out of the project details, collaborators engage with its goals and progress, believing every time more and more in its success. At the moment of the go-live, where trust peaks, the cycle turns to the implementation stage. From this point, the unexpected situations and errors of the project can challenge the trust or the belief of the people whether the project will succeed. At the time change will be executed, that is why our process is heading to the change axis directly. Finally, the evaluation stage is where results are compared with original goals. The area enclosed represents the stability felt by the people upon reaching the desired objective. Trust now returns and the change is accomplished. This entire process represents a periodic attractor, how in any new project the stakeholders' behavior will travel around the same cycle. Finally, strange attractor patterns are not easy to recognize at first sight. They are usually viewed as irregularities that upon time can be revealed and comprehended. Strange attractor patterns in organizations are situations that can be common and have unlimited choice of actions. People start getting familiarized with these irregularities so they can gain trust and have better solutions that provoke change. Project failures or dysfunctional departments can generate communication problems with others within the organization, which leads to a turndown in collaboration. This is depicted as a shape which shows significant difference to the others or even the lack of shape which is expected for the previous sequence. If we zoom out, these irregularities might repeat in other structures and thus will become a fractal system. For example, repeating isolation in collaboration among the units can be helped out by the surrounding departments or stakeholders. Recognizing or being prepared for irregularities can support strategic planning in a great way.
For our final study, we'll talk about the CD model, which refers to containers, differences, and exchanges. Containers are characterized by the creation of boundaries from one system to another, which could be represented as a physical location, concepts, or ideas developed by a person. The container in the model is the connection between trust and change. As trust increases, so will change. For example, a new project or the physical areas in the company can be containers. Differences represent significant variations viewed in the system and are key points that provoke or generate change. The differences in the model can be identified as the interrelation of concepts which are involved in developing trust to create change. This diversity in aptitudes and attitudes can increase or decrease trust levels that may or not move change. It is important to consider that differences can generate patterns. In the model, one example can be knowledge, ages, genders, and expectations of people involved in a new project. Exchanges allow the flow of information in a system and within itself in its environment. According to the model, the agents that intervene need to exchange their own viewpoints, feelings, and opinions to move up the trust level between them and generate changes in the system. Viewed in practice, in situations such as feedback sessions in a team to clarify ideas, concepts, and work styles, or training sessions of specific topics that need to be implemented in the organization for a project development.
The wind of change blows straight into the face of time. Like a storm wind, they will rain the freedom bell from peace of mind.